Okay, good evening, guys. Can you all let me know if you all can hear me and see a screen? Yes. Can you can see a screen? Yes, right. Sorry for the small 5-10 minute delay, guys. The courier just came to collect all the tubes, so I had to hand over all of that. Okay, so this is just a reminder, okay? So for all those who have paid and registered for the month of September by around 12 noon today, I couriered the first set of tubes. Okay, so you all will be getting this file. Okay, I don't know if it's very clear. Let me see if I can remove the blur of my background. Right, so you all will be getting this file, guys. So inside the file, when you all get, please check if all of these are there. Number one, inside the file, you all should have the unit 3 and the unit 2 theory recap tubes. So unit 2 and unit 3 theory recap tubes, you should have the unit 2 and 3 past paper tube, that is one tube, right? So all of it is together, 2 and 3 both together. And also you all should have revision paper number from paper number 5 all the way until paper number 11. So paper number 1 to 4 was unit number 1. No. So this starts from paper number 5. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So once you all get your tubes, please check if everything is there, because I was not the one who packed all of this, guys. I got it packed from the printing place itself. So because of that reason, I randomly checked 1 or 2 packs. The tubes were there. So by any chance, if anyone doesn't have the set, just check and see. So you should have, once again, the unit 2 and 3 theory recap tubes, the unit 2 and 3 past paper tube, and then revision paper number 5 to revision paper number 11. Okay, so I have couriered it to all those who have paid and registered up to 12 p.m. today. The next set of tubes I am couriering by Thursday, most likely. Now today is Monday, no? Yeah. Next set of tubes I'll be couriering it on Thursday. Theory revision. Theory tubes also was sent. Theory and revision. The next set of tubes will be couriered on Thursday. So if you have not paid by now, at least try and pay by Thursday, so that I will be sending your tubes with the Thursday's batch. Okay. And please make sure, guys, you all answer the phone and collect it. The courier company will not come if you don't answer the phone. They'll call you before coming, right? I have given both the numbers that you all have given in the registration form. Make sure that you all answer it. If there is a missed call, please call back, confirm that you're at home, then they will come and courier the tube. There will be a courier charge of around 360 rupees. That's the normal courier charge island-wide, whether it is Colombo or out of Colombo. It's a 360 that you all have to pay and collect. Usually they will send you a message once the package is kind of out for delivery. Right? You all will get a message from CityPack, that is my courier company, saying that your package is out. So please make sure you answer the phone and collect the file with the tubes. And the first thing that you do when you get your file is to see if all the tubes are there. Okay, right. So before we get started and get going, theory or revision class, which one is important? I think both is important, right? I don't think you can just do on one, because theory class, we learn the theory from scratch. Without knowing theory, you can't do the revision. In the theory class, just knowing the theory, you can't write answers, because in the revision class is where we practice answer right. So, you know, it's both of it is equally important, and you need to get both of that done. Can you all collect your tubes from my place? Yes, Zainab, you can get that done. Okay. Paper class, in the sense, revision class is the paper class, guys. That is where we will be doing papers and recapping the theory and all of that. Okay, so revision class is the main one. Okay, so then, okay, how many of you all did revision paper number 4? Yes. And also, I just realized once some of you all started texting that I have not sent the revision paper 3 answers. No, I didn't send it on the group. I remembered it when you all sent a message somewhere on Thursday or Friday. I was out of Colombo. I went on a small trip. So I was completely out of Colombo the whole weekend. So I was not able to send it. So what I'll do is, after today's class, I have my 25 class. After that, before sleeping, I'll send you the revision paper 3 and revision paper 4. That is today's paper's answers. Okay, I'll send you all the PDF on the group. Now, remember guys, this is the last free class that we are doing. From next week onwards, we are starting unit number 2. And unit number 2 is a paid class. Okay, the link will not be sent on the WhatsApp group. You all will be added to a separate WhatsApp group once you all have paid and registered. For that thing, you will be added. Won't I do a separate paper class? Paper class is I'll do a past paper class, but then I'll be doing something called the fast track program and all. Because all of that, what I will be doing and stuff, I did explain, I think, in the first class. See, in case you missed the recording, missed the session, see the recording is there. Okay. Any questions, guys? Before we, how many of y'all did the paper? Very few from the yeses I have. I have around 10 yeses at least. Did y'all? Don't have to completely finish it. At least, open the paper, see what was there and kind of look at it. No? Okay. So we'll recap the theory part first. We'll take the first 1 hour to recap our theory and then we'll get into the area. Now, today's part, guys, is very important. It's on PPC. It's an area that a lot of students get sometimes confused. So I'll take the first 1 hour to recap the area and then we'll get into the paper. In the paper also, I had some interesting questions that covers the entire area. Okay. So on your theory recap tube, can you go to page number, right? On your theory recap tube, can you go to page number 22? That is where we are going to start with today. Okay, in your theory recap tube, page 22. Okay. Starting off with what is a PPC or what is a production possibility curve? It's a very simple thing, guys. Okay. So a production possibility curve is assume that there is a country. There is one country. It is producing only 2 goods. Okay, so we are making assumptions here. There is one country. It's producing 2 goods. Let's say they are producing food and they are producing clothes. Those are the 2 goods that they are producing. And a country has resources, no? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. They have resources. So with their resources, the different combinations of the 2 goods that they can produce is what we call a PPC. What is the PPC again? A production possibility curve is a graph or it's a curve drawn showing what? The different combinations of 2 goods that can be produced. Now, what is this nonsense combinations, guys? Just think, right? Okay, let's take Sri Lanka. We'll take Sri Lanka for a example. Okay, let's say Sri Lanka has, I don't know, let's say land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. I know, for example, let's take in total, we have, let's say, around 2,000 resources. Let's make an assumption. Let's say Sri Lanka has 2,000 land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Now, if Sri Lanka uses all of it, let's say we are producing 2 goods, if we use all of our resources to produce clothes, let's say we can produce 500 units of clothes. Then how much of food can be produced? Nothing. If we use all 2,000 resources to produce clothes, then we can produce 500 clothes, 0 food. Maybe if we are producing, let's say, 100 units of food, let's say we can produce, for example, 400 units of clothes. Let's say if we are producing 200 food, we can produce 300 clothes. So likewise, 100 food, 200 clothes. So 300 food, 400 food, 100 clothes. 500 food, 0 clothes. Let's say these are the different combinations that is available. Now, few things that you all have to learn, guys. One is, if we are going to increase the production of one good, we have to sacrifice the production of the other. Why? Because we have a limited amount of resources. So when we are producing 500 clothes, that means we have allocated all our resources for clothes. Okay, we have allocated all our resources for clothes. So then if we are to produce a little bit more food, what should we do? We should take some resources from clothes and put it to the food industry. Then clothes production goes down, food production goes up. Likewise, guys, there are different combinations. Now, if you plot these combinations on a graph, you get the PPC, right? How do we get this? See, let me draw. We'll take the food and clothes. So when we are producing 0 food, we can produce 500 clothes. So this is point A, 0 food, 500 clothes. Point B, 400 clothes, 100 food, right? So 400 clothes, let's say 100 food. So likewise, guys, once you plot all the points, you get a line. That is what you call the PPC. So what is the PPC once again? The definition, we are still there, right? I'm not teaching you anything else. I'm telling you, the PPC, see, at a given point of time, by utilizing all resources of an economy with maximum efficiency and the prevailing technology, the line drawn here, this is the most important one, the line drawn combining the maximum output of two goods is known as the production possibility curve or the production possibility frontier. It's a line that we draw connecting all the possible production combinations. And then we say this also represents the potential output of a country. What is the potential output? We'll talk about that a little bit in unit number 5 also. So for now, I'm not going to talk too much about it. Yes. Now, let me ask you a question. This PPC is showing us the combinations of two goods we can produce. Can you tell me, okay, let's say we draw Sri Lanka's PPC. Okay, Sri Lanka's PPC, let's say this is for food, this is for clothes. Let's say Sri Lanka can produce, I'll draw a different one. Okay, so let's say Sri Lanka can produce 500 food and 500 clothes. Let's say this is the combination. Then on the same side, let me draw China's PPC. Okay, this is China, our good friend, okay, who gives us a loan whenever we want. Okay, so China's PPC, same, will take the same goods, food and clothes. Guys, why do you think, now for example, we can produce 500 and 500? These guys can produce 5,000. Why do you think China's PPC is bigger? How do you think China can produce more goods and services, or better output combinations than Sri Lanka? Can you give me some reasons? How come China's PPC is a much bigger PPC than Sri Lanka's PPC? Number one, exactly, number one, what could have happened? Number one, they might be having more resources than us. Yeah. So we'll say, now what is resources? We call this resource endowment. What is endowment? Resource endowment means how much of resources we have. So China has more land. China has more labor. They have a huge population. They have so much of labor. China has more capital than us. China might be having more and more entrepreneurs than us. So one reason why China has a bigger PPC, or one reason why China's PPC is much higher, or China can produce a much bigger combination than Sri Lanka, is because China has what? A much higher level of resource endowment. Then, is that the only reason, guys? Apart from the fact that China has more resources than us, can there be another reason why China is better than us? Now, for example, think of someone like Singapore. Singapore is a small country, right? Population also less than us, so less labor than us. Land and stuff also less than us, right? All of the reasons. Why do you think maybe people in Singapore are producing more than us? The second reason, guys, it's not only your resource endowment, it's also your resource productivity, how productive your resources are. Okay, so we'll call this factor productivity, right? So remember, It's not only how much of resources you have, also your factor productivity. So can you tell me, what does productivity depend on, guys? How come, how do you think, let's say, people in Japan or China, how come they are much faster than us? Or they are quicker, they are producing more? How do you think? Maybe yes. Maybe one reason is they have better technology. Good, right? They have better technology. That could definitely be one reason. What else? Maybe they have improved levels of human capital. What is human capital? Human capital is the knowledge, the skills, the experience that people have. No, so maybe they have more human capital, so they are more efficient, they are effective, right? Can be those. Maybe they have better. Guys, can you all make this management methods if it's in the tute? I can't remember if it's just management. They have better management methods. Let's say they are motivating their employees, they are giving them bonuses, they are, providing them training and, having good management methods. So that is helping the people to be more productive. Maybe they are also practicing what? Practicing things like specialization and division of labor. So maybe because of these reasons, right? Exactly, that's more experience, human capital. So maybe because of these reasons, what's the story? China has a bigger PPC than Sri Lanka. So what is my point once again? The PPC is showing us different combinations of two goods we can produce. So for example, if you look at Sri Lanka's PPC, let's say 400 clothes, 400 food, 100 clothes, 300 food, 200 clothes, likewise, there is combination. Then if you take China's PPC, we produce a huge combination. China produces, let's say, 4,000 food and let's say 1,000 clothes. They are producing 3,000 food and 2,000 clothes. We are producing in hundreds, they are producing in thousands. Then I ask you, what could be the reason for this? The reason for this is, number one, the resource endowment. China has a bigger PPC, or China can produce a much higher combination because China has what? More resources, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Or the second reason could have been, China has better factor productivity or resource productivity. They are using better technology. Their people has human capital, that is knowledge, experience and all. They have better management methods. They are practicing division of labor and specialization. So maybe they have bigger PPCs, right? That is the part of what, guys? That is the part of what is meant by a PPC and its determinants, right? So now what I just taught you all, guys, are the determinants of a PPC. So how come China's PPC is much bigger than Sri Lanka's? What determines a country's PPC? Or what determines the amount of output a country can produce? What determines, number one, how much of resources that country has? That's called resource endowment. And number two, how productive are those resources? That is factor productivity or resource productivity. So those are the main two determinants. Now, I want you all to know this very, very well, guys. Now, some of you all remember in your exam, we get situations, to draw and explain. Right, in your paper, you all would have seen. Right, I have given so many situations in your paper. If you all tried the paper, you all would have seen. Okay, so many things ask you, right, to draw and show this. Sometimes you don't know, is this a shift in the PPC? Will the PPC shift? Now, for example, will the PPC like this shift to the right? Or will it be a point moving from somewhere? How do you figure that out? I'll give you one easy hint. We'll get to the paper later. Remember, guys, the PPC will only shift outwards or inwards. PPC will only shift if one of the determinants change. PPC will only shift if one of the determinants change. For example, let's say there is more people coming back to Sri Lanka. Let's say, now a good president came into Sri Lanka, and now more and more people are coming back to Sri Lanka to work. What could happen? Okay, I'll just ask you this, guys. How can you show that in the PPs? Let's say there is more and more people coming back to Sri Lanka. There's inward migration. People are not going out now. Let's say 100,000 people who are working abroad, they came back to Sri Lanka. What will happen to the PPC, guys? PPC will shift where? PPC will shift outward, right? Why is that? PPC will shift outward because now we can produce more goods, no? We have more labor, right? So when 100,000 people come to Sri Lanka, how do you connect it to the determinants? You can say, look here, our labor resources are increasing. We have more labor now. We have 100,000 more people. As a result, earlier we can produce only this much. But now because we have 100,000 more people, now we can produce a much higher combination. Our PPC is much bigger now, right? Let's say, for example, they give you another reason. They say, for example, okay, due to, let's say, a tsunami or something. Let's say so much of buildings were destroyed. How do you show that on the PPs? I'll come to situations there. I'm just trying to connect this. How can you show that? There was a tsunami. So much of buildings were destroyed. Connect that to the determinants and tell me what has happened. Which determinant is affected? Okay, it is shifting inward. Correct. Which determinant? Capital has decreased. No, buildings have been destroyed. Yeah. So you can say, look here, capital, right? Now I said buildings. Buildings is capital. Buildings is not land. Okay. So buildings have got destroyed. So our capital has come down. PPC shifts inwards. Let's say I give you another reason. Let's say, for example, government has invested 1 million in training and development of the employees, or to provide vocational training for those who just passed A levels. What do you think will happen? What do you think is going to happen, guys? If the government has invested and they are providing training and development for 100,000 employees, right? PPC will shift outward, but can you connect that to the determinant? What's the determinant we are talking about? We're talking about what? We're talking about human capital. What is human capital? Human capital is what? Human capital is the knowledge, the experience, the knowledge, the experience, the, let's say, favorable health that people have. So just think, guys, in Sri Lanka, the skills, exactly, right? But one person, my human capital might not be the same as your human capital. It might be different. So the more training development you get, your human capital improves. You can produce much more. That is how it works. Yes, tsunami, you can say people died and labor also has fallen. But my example, I only said there has been a tsunami and some buildings have fallen. That's all I said. I didn't connect it to the real situation. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is, they will give you any amount of situations, guys. You can't memorize situations. They can give you 100,000 different PPC situations. What you need to figure out is, you need to try to connect. Is this affecting one of the determinants? If it is affecting, then let's shift the PPC. Otherwise, we don't shift the PPC. So we will do a lot of questions today. Then you all will understand. So remember, what determines the size of a PPC, or what determines the production possibility of a country? The resource endowment and its productivity. And the PPC will only shift, right? The PPC will only shift if one of these factors change. Point movement, guys, for example, let's say increase in unemployment. Let's say there has been more and more unemployment in the country. So can you say that when there is an increase in unemployment, labor is falling? Can you say that? Increase in labor. Still, Sri Lanka has 1,000 labor, let's say. Just because there is an increase in unemployment, you can't say that the people have fallen, no, that the labor has fallen. No. Labor is still 1,000. Now, for example, that's a very tricky question they give sometimes. In your paper, they say, right? They say, right? A rise in unemployment. You know what's the mistake most of the students do? Most of the students think, unemployment, no. Unemployment is connected to labor, no. So rise in unemployment has increased. So what shall we do? Let's shift the PPC inwards. Completely wrong. Because an increase in unemployment doesn't mean that the resources are gone, right? Does that mean that it only means that people don't have jobs? It doesn't mean that our people have left the country and gone. No, people have died. It's not that, no. So what you need to figure out is when there is unemployment, the amount of labor in the country is not really affected. No, the labor in the country doesn't fall. No, we still have 1,000 people. So then that kind of a thing, how can you show? You can show it by a point moving inwards. You don't shift the PPC there. And those kind of things are there. We'll talk, guys. There are more and enough and more examples in the paper. Okay, right. Then is that part okay, guys? Do you all have any questions on your end? Shep? I guess I'm guessing that's fine. Then, guys, we'll talk about the shape of the PPC and opportunity cost. Shape of the PPC and opportunity cost. Okay. Yes, the shape of the PPC or the slope of the PPC represents opportunity cost. Nonsense. What is that? Now here, see, guys, there is something called constant opportunity cost. What is constant opportunity cost? Constant opportunity cost means whenever you increase the output of one good by an equal amount. Let's say, for example, here, you're increasing the output of good tea, right, by 250, 250, 250. Whenever you increase the output of one good by an equal amount, the amount of the other good that you sacrifice remains constant. What is that? The amount of the other good that you sacrifice remains constant. See, when I increase, right, let's say when I go from point A to point B, I'm increasing T by 250. To increase T by 250, I am giving up how much? Good R by how much? 900, then that's another 250. Okay. I increase T by another 250. I give up R by another 250. Right? See, that is what you call constant opportunity cost. Every time you increase the production of one good, the amount of the other good that you sacrifice remains the same. Constant opportunity. Then look at this case. I'll come into the example later. Look at this example of increasing opportunity cost. Look at this. When I go from point A to point B, I'm increasing cameras by 10. I am decreasing mobile phones by 1. I'm sacrificing only one mobile phone. Then when I increase this by another 10, now I have to sacrifice 4 mobile phones. See, what has happened? My opportunity cost is increasing. What I have to sacrifice to increase cameras by an equal quantity keeps on increasing. That's what you call increasing opportunity cost. So that is just a brief. We'll go through a little bit in detail. Okay. So once again, guys, look at this. Now let me take my board. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about constant opportunity cost. What does constant opportunity cost mean? Whenever you increase, let's say, for example, we'll take rice and let's say flour. Okay, rice and flour. Let's say when we produce 500 units of rice, we can't produce any flour. When we produce 400 units of rice, let's say we can produce 50 units of flour. When we produce, let's say, 300 units of rice, let's say we can produce 100 flour. Okay, so I'll just put the points down now. When we produce 200 units of rice, let's say we can produce 150 flour. Okay, my uh, line might not be the most accurate line, but okay, right? And then likewise, when we produce, let's say 100 rice, we can produce 200 flour, and likewise 250. Okay. So this is my PPC, right? If I connect all the dots, this is my PPC. Now, how does this represent constant opportunity cost? Look at this very carefully, guys. Now, what is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is what you're sacrificing. So here I am saying constant opportunity cost. That means whatever I am sacrificing is remaining constant. I am not saying zero opportunity cost. Okay, I am not saying that you don't have to sacrifice anything. What I am saying is what you're sacrificing is remaining constant. That's what you call constant opportunity cost. Look at this case. When I increase my flour production from 0 to 50, right now, earlier I was here, no? So then when I move from here to here, I have to sacrifice how many units of rice? I have to sacrifice 100 units of rice. When I increase my flour production by another 50, right? When I increase it by another 50, I have to again sacrifice 100 units of rice. When I increase my flour production by another 50, right? This is 150, I have to again sacrifice 100 units of rice. So that is what you call constant opportunity cost. Every time I increase the production of flour by an equal quantity, the amount of the other good I sacrifice remains the same. I sacrifice 100, 100, 100, 100. That is an example of constant opportunity cost. Then look at the others. Guys, any questions on that? Is that clear, guys? Constant opportunity cost. Every time you increase the production of one good, the amount of the other good that you sacrifice remains the same. You every time sacrifice, let's say 100, 100, 100, 100. That's what you call constant opportunity cost. Yes, can you quickly give me a yes or a no? Are you fine? Others? Yes, if you have questions, ask, right? Okay. Now, then let me teach you this, guys. Let me teach you increasing opportunity. You will see the difference then better. Okay. Yes, ideally we look at the increase by an equal amount. Then no, it's fair to compare. Okay. So now we'll look at this. We'll look at increasing opportunity cost. Look at this situation now. Okay. Let me draw a curve for increasing opportunity cost. Let's say we have let's say mobile phones, right? We have mobiles over here, and on this side, let's say we have food. Okay. Let's say if we produce 1,000 mobile phones, we can't produce any food. If we produce, okay, so let's say when we produce 100 units of food, let's say we can produce 900 mobile phones. 1 point. When we produce 200 food, let's say we can produce 700 mobile phones. Okay. When we produce, let's say 300 food, let's say we can produce 400 mobile phones. Okay. When we produce, let's say 400 food, we can't produce any mobile phone. Now look at this curve, guys. This PPC, right? My diagram is not the most perfect diagram, so don't worry about that. 900 should be somewhere here, right? So this PPC, guys, will take the shape of what? Will take a concave shape. Now, see, this is not a straight line, no? In my earlier example, we got a straight line PPC when there was constant opportunity cost. Now look at the PPC. It's more like a concave shape. Now let's try to read this PPC and see. Here, see, guys, look at this very carefully. Here, see, okay? Now, when I, hold on. When I increase food production initially by 100, I have to give up 100 mobile phones. 1,000 goes to 900. When I increase my food production by another 100, now I have to give up 200 mobile phones. When I go from 200 to 300, now I have to give up 300 mobile phones, right? When let's say I go from 300 to 400, now I have to give up 400 mobile phones. So can you see, whenever I increase the production of food by an equal amount, 100, 200, 300, 400, the food production, whenever I increase food production by an equal amount, the amount of mobile phones that I had to sacrifice kept on increasing. That's what you call increasing opportunity cost. So what is constant opportunity cost? Constant opportunity cost is whenever you increase the production of one good, if the output of the other good is reducing by the same amount, or if you have to sacrifice the same amount of the other good, then that's constant opportunity cost. Then what is increasing opportunity cost? Whenever you increase the production of one good, the amount of the other good you sacrifice keeps on increasing. It's not constant. First you sacrifice 100, then 200, then 300, then 400. So it keeps on going up and up and up and up. That's what you call increasing opportunity cost. Is that clear, guys? Yes, ideally you have to increase it by an equal amount always. There is no nothing about the axes, guys. You can have it in different axes, right? You can show the this in this axis, the other thing in other axis. I just showed the increasing in the x-axis. You can switch the axes, no problem at all. Okay, any question? Fine. Now, then guys, let's get into doing a little bit of calculations. Now I have left this box in your tute for that purpose. Okay. Yes, sometimes they will ask you, right? Now I want you all to learn this properly. Yeah, I'll teach this to you all also. There is a question in the paper also. Yes, in this diagram, if they ask you, what is the opportunity cost of moving from point A to point B? What are you going to say? The question is asking, what is the opportunity cost of moving from point A to point B? Can you all give me an answer, guys? We are going from point A to point B. What is the opportunity cost? Should we use the equation and do it, or do we give it in a whole number? What's the opportunity cost? Remember, guys, opportunity cost, you have to give it in terms of another good. Now, just saying 250 or something else is also not 100% correct. You have to say, when I'm going from A to B, what am I sacrificing? When I'm going from A to B, I'm increasing the production of T by 250. To increase the production of T by 250, what am I sacrificing? That is only my opportunity cost. So what's my opportunity cost? To increase the production of T by 250, I have to sacrifice the production of good R by another 250. So my opportunity cost is, guys, 250 units of R, or you can say of good R. That is my opportunity cost. Now you will wonder, sir, then what is this equation, sir, here? Guys, remember, this is the equation, right? You can write it down. The equation to calculate marginal opportunity cost. What is this? The equation to calculate marginal opportunity cost. What is marginal opportunity cost? The opportunity cost of producing one additional unit. So in case your question said, right, what is the marginal opportunity cost? Marginal opportunity cost of moving from point A to B. Then you can use the equation. Or if they ask you what is the opportunity cost of producing one additional unit, then you use the equation. But overall, if they ask for opportunity cost, give the total, guys. Okay, There is more and more questions we'll do, right? In the paper, I'll show you all the difference. Yes, guys. So marginal opportunity cost, and when they say opportunity cost, they mean total opportunity cost. When they are saying marginal opportunity cost, they are referring to the opportunity cost of producing one extra unit. So then guys, look at this. How much can we say? What is the equation? Foregone amounts of goods divided by increased amount of goods. In other words, foregone divided by gain. So when you're going from A to B, how much of goods are you foregoing, sacrificing? You're sacrificing 250 goods of R. Okay, so foregone amount of goods 250. How many units of goods are you gaining? You're gaining another 250 of T. So here 250 divided by 250, you will get an opportunity cost of 1. 1 what? Remember guys, this also you give in what you are sacrificing, 1 unit of R, whatever that you are sacrificing. If you can't remember this, don't worry much, okay? I will do this in the paper that we are doing. There are a lot of questions there. I will recap this again there. So don't worry too much if you can't remember it for now. But guys, I'm telling you all every day. I want you all to do this, okay? Guys, how many of you all have a fixed time to do the paper and revise the thing before the class and come? You have a fixed time. During the week, this time, I'm going to take this 2 hours or this 3 hours to do the paper and do. Please try to have that, guys. That helps a lot. So that is your discipline. Small things like that will definitely help you to get that A or go beyond. So for example, now what I will do, let's say class is on Monday. No? So Saturday or Sunday, you all are at home, right? So take 2 hours or maybe 3 hours maximum. 1.5 hours to read your theory note, right? Maybe school note, or if you are my theory student, my theory note, 1.5 hours for that. The next 1.5 hours to do the paper. So have a time. Let's say Saturday morning, 8 to 11. Or if you all are someone who works at night, then at night. Or if you can't, let's say, do at a stretch 3 hours, break it to 1.5 hours. Saturday 1.5 hours, I will study the focus area. So that means for Monday's class, you have to open it. And then, okay, the next 1.5 hours, I'll do the paper. And then try to find another 1 hour to do the short note as well. Area is completely done. So if you can do that, now see, I'm summarizing the whole thing in a smaller way. No? So if you can do that, now see, within now, okay, how many of y'all think that by the end of this week, you can finish studying unit number 1 and finish? You have made the short notes nicely. You have done the papers. Can you finish that by this, let's say by this Friday? You think it's possible? Yep. You can finish off unit number 1, put it aside. Made the short notes, did the papers, revised your notes, done. That has to be the plan, guys. Now, if you all are not going to work according to a plan, just show up, one class you come, other class you're not there, right? If that is what's going to happen, you will not get A levels done properly. And I'm telling you, no matter what you do, A levels is not something you can study the last moment. Last moment you can study, you can pass. But if you want something like a A or something way more than A, there has to be consistency. That is the most important thing, right? We say you need to be persistent. What is persistent, right? If you have this in your life, you can go a long way, guys. What's the thing that you need to remember? You need to have persistence. What is persistence? I think it's E, no? Persistence, right? You need to do continuous work. You can't be now today after class, you're motivated. Sir said, no, every day have to work. So today after class, now you're sitting and doing the paper. Tomorrow you don't do anything. That is not persistent, right? You need to have continuous regular work. And you can't, little by little only you have to start, guys. You start off with, let's say, 1 hour week study. Then little by little you go to 1.5 hours. Then little by little 2 hours. You can't go from 0 hours to 5 hours a week of studying just like that. That's not effective and doesn't go into your brain also. So little by little, if you don't start now, it's going to be too late. So please make a plan and get that done. Okay. Right. Then we went through this also. Yes, we look at the reasons, guys. Why do some products, some industry, some PPCs are constant opportunity cost? Some PPCs represent increasing opportunity cost. What are the reasons? We look at the reasons for constant opportunity cost. One main reason for constant opportunity cost is constant opportunity cost has what? Homogeneous resources. The resources between the two industries are the same. For example, let's say the production of buns and bread. Take buns and bread. Both industries use flour. It doesn't always have to be close substitutes also, but usually yes, if there are close substitutes. But now, for example, buns and bread, right? So both of them use flour. Need an oven. You need a baker. You might need, let's say, butter. You might need a tray. So almost very similar resources, right? That's what you call homogeneous resource. So if the two industries are using homogeneous resources, we can call it constant opportunity cost. If the industry also has, if the resources efficient for one industry are equally efficient in the other industry. Now, for example, take a baker, a baker who is making buns, he is equally efficient to bake bread also. Or let's say bake a cake, right? So that is what we say. Resources efficient for one industry are the same for the other industry. You can also write a third point over here, guys. You can say similar production technology. You can say this as well. So if these reasons are there, we can say that there is constant opportunity cost. Then what are the reasons for increasing opportunity cost? Non-homogeneous resources. For example, let's take the production of food and clothes. Food you might produce in a bakery, oven, a baker. Clothes, you might need to have a machine, you might have to have a factory. That's a different thing, right? The resources are not the same. So non-homogeneous resources. Then resources efficient for one industry are not efficient for the other. For example, let's say you take a well-trained chef who is in the food industry. If you put this fellow into the baking industry to make some food, he might not be good. He might be very good at producing food, but you take the fellow and put him in the this industry, he can't work. Same thing can be the other way. If you take, let's say, a mechanic in the let's say in the clothes industry, one who repairs the machines and all. You take that fellow and put him in a bakery, he doesn't know what to do. See, resources efficient for one industry are not efficient for the other. And then, guys, technology use can be different from each other. The technology in this industry might be different from the other industry. Now, the food industry has a different thing. This industry has another thing. Okay, that's it. LL results are released. They said that they are releasing it today. I didn't hear it being released until the class being started. Is it just out? I don't know. Yes, no? Now it released. Okay, so then people will check. I might start getting calls now. We'll hope that I can somehow continue the class and get going. Okay, we'll see, right? Hopefully my students would have done well. I think I'm under more pressure than them, right? I've been teaching them for so much, doing papers, right? I finished the syllabus 5 times and all of that. We'll hope, right? We'll hope that they would have done well, right? Sometimes it's very sad when, some people don't do well. That's the thing that hurts the most. Than people who do well, glad, happy for them. But like when you work so hard and when some people don't really do well, that as a teacher also, you feel really bad sometimes. We'll hope that nothing bad would have happened. But there were some students who were really good. I remember from the very beginning, they were there with me and they studied hard. Okay, right. So maybe 1 year from now might be your time, no? Who knows? Oh, no, not 1 year from now, no? 2 years from. I don't think it'll take 2 years also. You all might do A levels in August. Most likely they will have it in August or September. Most likely, maybe your results might come somewhere around in December, January. So that's like 1 year and 4-5 months from now, you will have your results also. Scan. Confusion, homogeneous. Homogeneous resources means, guys, the resources between the two industries are the same. For example, bread and bun. So bread also you use flour. Bun also you use the same flour. Bread also you have a baker. Buns also you have a baker. You know, the resources are the same. That's what you call homogeneous resources. Any question there, guys? Is that fine? Regions, guys. I'm not going into detail, okay? Because I don't have the time to go through in detail. That's what we do a theory class for. Now, how does it happen? Why does this happen? That's in the theory parts. I'm just recapping it. Yes, guys, I will share the answer scheme for paper 3 after this class. Okay, I'm so sorry, I totally forgot. And then once you all reminded me on Thursday or Friday, I was out on a trip. And then I totally forgot to send it. Okay, now we'll quickly go to these guys. These are easy, right? I want you all also to quickly give me answers. Explain the following microeconomic concepts using a PPC. Can you all tell me, guys, how do we show scarcity on a PPC? Quickly give me answers so we can quickly go now. How do we show scarcity on a PPC? How do we show? Scarcity is a point that is unattainable. We don't have the resources to go there. So how do we show that then? Then we show it on a point outside the PPC. Scarcity is denoted, right? Scarcity is denoted at any point outside the PPC. What is the reason for that? Because that's a point we can't achieve. PPC is showing us all the maximum possible combinations we can produce. Now, we can't produce a point outside, no? So therefore it's scarce. Yes, how do we show alternative uses? Yes, this is something they will never actually ask you in the exam also, because it's like a free mark. Alternative uses is any point is an alternative use. For example, let's take two goods. We'll take capital goods and we'll take consumer goods. Okay, so point A is scarcity. Okay, so you all can note it. Point A is scarcity. Now, any point, right? Let's say B, C, right? So point B, point C, point D. Any of these points can be alternative uses, right? So point A is scarcity. Point A, B, C, D. Any point, guys. Any point out, any point on, or any point inside the PPC is called an alternative use. So remember that. But guys, if you take choice from these 4 points, what do you think becomes a choice? How do you show choice on a PPC? Yes, choice has to be a point that is attainable. Now, therefore, definitely point A is out. You can't show choice by A. Even D can be a choice, but it's not a good choice to make. So ideally, if you're showing choice on a PPC, they will usually not ask you this, guys, don't worry. I'll show you how they ask questions from it. They won't ask you to show choice. So you can say B and C, right? B and C represents, right, rational choices. Rational choices. Rational means meaningful. Now, point D is also choice, but D is not meaningful because D is a point in unemployment. So B and C you can say is choice. I'll show you. They won't ask you in your paper, show alternative uses, show choice. I'll show you how they give questions through the revision paper 4 that we'll do. Okay. Yes. How can you show opportunity cost on a PPC? Have I given unemployment here? That's also there, right? How can we show opportunity cost, guys, on a PPC? Opportunity cost on a PPC, you can do this, guys. You can mark 2 points, right? Let's say point A and point B. Okay. So you can say, we'll put some numbers. Let's say point A is 280. Point B is this is 200. Let's say this is capital goods. Okay. And let's say this is consumer goods. So let's put the numbers over here as 500 and 1000. Okay. So can you tell me what is the opportunity cost? What's the opportunity cost of moving from A to B? Tell me what's the opportunity cost? What is the opportunity cost of moving from A to B, guys? Think and tell me. What do you have to sacrifice? When you're moving from point A to point B, what is your opportunity cost? Your opportunity cost is 80 units of capital goods. When you're moving from point A to point B, you're increasing consumer goods by 500, but you're sacrificing 80 capital goods. So moving from point A to B, what is your opportunity cost? You can say 80 capital goods. Can you tell me the other way, guys? What if I move from, right? What if I move from point B to point A? What's my opportunity cost now? If I move from B to A, not A to B, B to A, I'm going the other way now. What's my opportunity cost? B to A. If I am moving from B to A, what's my opportunity cost? I have to say at point B, I am producing 1000 consumer goods. Now, when I go to point A, I can only produce 500 consumers. So I have to sacrifice 500 consumer goods. So point B to A, my opportunity cost is 500 consumer goods. Is that okay? So that's a small opportunity cost thing. There is a little bit more to it. Again, I will show that in the paper. Okay. Now, so take a few seconds and see, guys, if there is, if everything is okay and on track. Just check. See if you all have any questions, problems, issues. How well? I think results out. Now I'm starting to get messages, thankfully. No, we don't do decreasing opportunity cost here because it's not a practical thing. I'll touch a little bit on the paper. Okay. Yes, right. The next big area that we have is economic efficiency. Now, this part, I am not going to go in detail today because this is a little bit of a long part. It will take me around half an hour to do this. So what I'm going to do is within the next, not tomorrow, probably before Friday, if possible by tonight, I'll do it. Tomorrow is my graduation, so I'm a little bit busy tomorrow, so whole day will be kind of gone there. So because of that, if I find some time tonight, or at least before Friday, I will upload a YouTube video and I will share the link on the chat box, not the chat box, on the WhatsApp group. Then y'all can watch because I don't want to rush because this is a very important area. I don't want to rush this and finish this in 10 minutes because then you all will not understand. Okay, so then there is a complicated graph-like thing here. You all will not understand anything if I do this in 10 minutes. So for that reason, what I will do is I will upload a YouTube video. Since it's a free class now, so I'll put it on YouTube. But going forward, if there are any hard areas, I'll put it on the website. So then I want you all to watch it if you all don't know it and complete this diagram. Can you all do this? So this is homework before the next class. Once I upload the video, I will let you know on the group. There is a question on this. For that, I will discuss. But this part, please do it for homework. Right. Then we look at, guys, how to represent these macroeconomic concepts. Guys, how do we show full employment on a PPC? full employment. How do we show full employment? Hmm? How do you think? Full employment is a point on the PPC. What is full employment? Full employment is where when you use all your resources, right? You're using all your resources to the maximum sustainable level. That's what you call full employment, right? So full employment is a point on the PPC. So you can say, I'll just mark point A, point B. Any point on the PPC is full employment. So you can say any point on the PPC. That's full employment. Then guys, how do we show unemployed? Where is unemployed? How do you think we show unemployed? Unemployment means you have not used your resources fully. There are some people who are idling, some people don't have jobs, some capital, some machines are just left idle. That's unemployed. How do we show that? That also you can show how? On a point inside the PPC, any point inside the PPC, right? So this is full employment, right? Then any point inside the PPC, any point inside the PPC is called what? Any point inside the PPC is what we call unemployment. Okay, right. Yes, any of your brothers, sisters who did A levels and are checking for results now? No. How are their faces? Are they smiling? Have they checked? Have they done well? No, I just checked my WhatsApp notifications. I've got 4 years. Nice. Okay, I'm getting calls and calls now. I feel bad not answering also, but during the break I'll reply. So what to do? If I start answering calls, then I might not be able to go through your part today. No, we'll see. Okay, right. Good. Let's say to whoever brother who got sister who got 4 years, say congrats. Hoping they would have got a good EZ score also. Right. We'll move to the next part, guys. How do we go for recession and depression? How do we show this? How do we show an economic recession? How do we show an economic depression? Yes, what is a recession? An economic recession is a situation where underemployment is that also you can show it on a point inside the PPs. We'll talk a little bit more on to underemployment in unit number 11 and 12. So underemployment also inside the PPs. Yes, what is a recession? A recession is where in the economy, the demand has fallen. People are not spending. Demand has fallen. Then can you tell me, in the economy, if the demand falls, will the economy produce the same amount of goods and services as they did before? Will they produce the same amount of goods and services, or will they now produce less amount of goods and services? What's going to happen? When the demand falls, no point producing the same amount of goods and services. Now, let's say, for example, during COVID, no one was buying clothes. So if no one is buying clothes, should the firm still produce 1,000, 2,000 units of clothes? No, now they must produce 100, 200. So when the demand falls, guys, what happens? The production or output falls. Yes, can you tell me, when the production falls, do you have to still employ the same amount of labor or capital? Now, to produce 2,000 units, you hired 100 people, 10 machines were working. Now, to produce just 100 units, do you have to hire 100 people and use 10 machines? No, right? So what happens when production falls? That gives rise to what? That gives rise to now unemployment, right? So with production coming down, now what do we have? Now we have unemployment. Yeah. So how do you think we show this on a PTC? A recession is a point inside the PPC. If they say the economy is moving to a recession, then you draw a line and show, draw a small arrow and show. If they say recession, just put a dot. If they say economy is heading to, economy is moving to a recession, then you draw the arrow and you can show that. Okay. Then guys, what happens if this recession continues for a long time? Let's say it continued for like 2 quarters, let's say around 6 months. Continuously there has been a recession. What does this lead to now? Now it leads to a depression, right? What is that? Not depreciation, guys. That's called depression. What's depression? An economic depression is what you call a prolonged recession, a longer recession. Now, in a depression, what happens? In a depression, guys, you know what happens? The PPC shifts. PPC itself will shift, right? I'll use the colors, guys. Green is depression. Now, you all write it nicely in your tute, okay? You all can do that. Green is depression. Point moving is the recession. Now you will wonder, sir, now you told us, no, sir, PPC will shift only if the determinants change. Remember the first thing I told you? I told PPC will shift inwards or outwards only if the what? Only if these determinants change, right? Now, can you all try to connect this a little with the determinants and tell me, why do you think the PPC is shifting inwards during a depression? That is a longer recession. Let's say a recession for 2 or more quarters. Try to connect it with some of these determinants. It has to work now, because I told you at the start, unless one of these determinants change, PPC won't change or PPC won't shift. What is happening, guys? Yes, just think of a machine. Think of a machine that was kept idle for 6 months. Think of a machine, right? Since there is no demand, production has fallen, so no one used that machine. For 6 months, that machine was not used. What do you think would happen to that machine now? For 6 months, it was just closed and kept. Do you think later when you take it, you think that machine would work the same way it used to work before? No, right? Maybe it would have got rusted. Maybe some rats would have gone and, something would have happened. Maybe, you have to change the oil or something in that. It's not working. Think of, so see, that means your capital is going down, right? Think of, what do you think will happen? Let's say for 6 months, you didn't do a job. Right now, you are unemployed. For 6 months, you didn't do a job. 6 months itself, recession, no demand, no one hired you. What will happen to your skills and stuff? Do you think you will have the same amount of skills after you take a nice 6 month vacation at home and doing nothing and come back, right? Will you have the same amount of mental and physical skills? No, that also would have come down, right? So you can say, one way you can say human capital has come down, or you can say labor has come down. Labor is the physical and mental efforts of the people. Now that also comes down. See, that is why during a depression, what do? During a depression, we shift the PPC. In a recession, point moves inside, short term, shape, temporary situation. But what happens in a depression? When it goes for 2 or more quarters, resources get destroyed. Human labor skills, right now, they are not good at these anymore. Then if you take capital, if you take machines, they are now, let's say, rusted, or, things like that have happened. That is why in a depression, we move the PPC, we shift the PPC inside. Is that clear, guys? Depression and recession. Sorry, guys, depression, you can show it in the next graph. Sorry. This is recession, right? So depression, green one, show it in the next graph. Shifting the PPC inside. Yes, how do you think we can show economic growth on a PPC? How do you think we can show this on a PPC? Economic growth, how can we show, guys? We can show it by the PPC shifting outwards. Now, again, I told you, I told you PPC will shift only if the determinants change. So what do you think would have changed now? What happens with economic growth, guys? What happens with the country's economic growth? With economic growth, guys, one thing that happens is the country can now produce more and more. Why can the country produce more and more? With economic growth, there'll be more and more capital in the country, better technology, right? Better human capital. All of this improves with economic growth, right? We have better technology, we have better machines, we have better human capital. As a result, how do we show economic growth? We shift the PPC out first. Entire PPC goes out like that. And then how do we, is that fine? Yeah, these are all basic situations, right? And then we have the final part, current consumption, future growth. This thing will, yeah, fine. Okay, yes. Now coming into this, current consumption and economic growth. If I ask you, can you tell me, guys, broadly, a economy can produce what type of goods? If you take broadly, what type of goods can an economy produce, guys? Hmm? What type of thing? Okay, capital goods, and consumer goods, right? If you take broadly the two types of goods the economy can produce, capital and consumer. So we'll look at this. Let's say there are two economies, okay? Capital goods, consumer goods. Capital goods, consumer goods. So let's say this is, okay, right? Let's say this is graph A, or the first graph, or country A. Country A is producing a lot of consumer goods, a very little capital goods. Country A. Let's say country B, Anit country, right? The second country. These people are producing a lot of capital goods and a very little consumer. Yes. What can you tell about these countries? What and what can we say about these countries? A and B. What can we say? Okay, well, I'll make the question easier for you. Can you tell me about the current living standard? Who has a better current living standard? Okay, country A, tell me what is their current living standard, high or low? Current living standard right now. So remember, guys, living standard is usually measured based on the consumer goods. So consumer goods are the goods that you use for your day-to-day consumption. Food, motor vehicles, TVs, right? Your AC, consumer goods, right? So if you look at country A, they are producing a lot of consumer goods, no? So therefore, what can you say? You can say current living standards, right? Current living standards, right? Current living standards are high for country A. What about country B's current living standard? Country B, they are producing capital goods. They are producing machines and buildings and factories. People don't have much food variety choices. People don't have these TVs and ACs and much now. They are producing factories and buildings. So current living standard is, living standard is low. Okay. What can you tell about the future growth potential, guys? Which country do you think will grow more in the future, A or B? Which country will grow the highest in the future? Country B. You know why? Why country B? Country B has current living standard is low, but they are sacrificing and producing a lot of capital goods. They are producing machines, buildings, right? All of that. What for? Because later, those machines, buildings, factories, equipment can produce more and more goods. Why do you produce capital goods? You produce capital goods so that those goods can produce more goods, no? Those are machines, buildings, factories. So look at this. In country B, future growth will be very high. PPC will shift a lot. But if you take country A, they are producing a little capital goods. So country A, what would happen? Country A's also PPC will shift, but it will shift only a very little. Country B, it will shift a lot. Country A, it will shift, but only a very little. Is that clear? Country A has better current living standard, but low future growth. Country B has low current living standard, but will have high future. So that is the trade-off between what? Current consumption and economic growth. So if you can sacrifice your current consumption, like country B, if you can sacrifice current consumption and if you can produce more and more capital goods, then in the future, you can have a big increase in economic. Okay, right. Okay. Then guys, we'll come to the last few parts and then I'll give you all your break, right? This anyway is for reading homework. I'm not going to talk much about this. We'll do this final part and finish it. Yes, all of this has one thing in common. Can you think and tell all of these situations? Discovering of new resources, obtaining ownership of new resources, inflow of resources from foreign countries, increase in stock through new technology, increase in foreign loans, aids and investment. All of this will cause the PPC to go where, guys? All of this has only one answer. That's why there's only one PPC. Think and tell me what's happening, guys. All of this will cause the PPC to do what? It will cause the PPC to shift to the right. Now, what do you have to remember? You have to remember, if the opposite of any of this happen, what will happen? If the opposite of any of this happen, the PPC will shift left. These are just some small examples for you all to remember, guys. Because now see, now discovering of new resources. I'll give you an example that they give you in your paper, right? So they will say, they won't say discovering new resources, okay? In your paper, examiner will say, right? Sri Lanka found a new oil deposit in Manna. Right? So in Manna, right, we found a new oil deposit. So what does that mean? We discovered a new resource. Oil deposit, land, natural. So our land has gone up. You know, that's how they will give you. So you have to think, right? Sri Lanka found the oil deposit. Discovered resource, land has gone up. Or let's say something, right? And maybe obtaining ownership for resources. Maybe, for example, let's say we went for war and we captured Maldives, right? Or let's say Maldives said, okay, now we also belong to Sri Lanka. So we own those land also. Goes up, PPC shifts, right? Let's say inflow of resources from foreign countries. People who are working abroad have now moved to Sri Lanka. Maybe new machines are coming to Sri Lanka. PPC will shift. Then obtain increasing resources through new technology. So maybe some new technology has moved in. Maybe we have got some foreign loans and investments. Maybe, you know, there's an improvement in technology, new techniques, providing training for workers by the government. So they can give you so much of different example. I have given you the broad situations here. They can give you different things, guys. So based on it, you will have to figure out and see, this is what has happened. Is that okay? Fine. So, right. Then this one, guys, what is meant by division of labor and specialization? How has money facilitated this? It's a thing that you can read and understand. It's not a very important. There was one past paper on this though in the 2015 or the 2013 paper. When I do past papers with you all, I will discuss. I would have discussed in theory class also. You can have a read and you can leave that for now. We'll discuss it later, maybe when we do a paper. Okay. So that is it with the theory recapping part, guys. So we have done the whole theory recap parts. So now what we have left is we need to this allocative efficiency, productive efficiency, like I said, I'll upload a video. Now we need to get into the paper. The paper is very practical, guys. So paper has a lot of practical questions on different things. So where is the paper? I don't have the paper. I'll get the paper into my this thing. So until that, shall we take a small break, and then shall we come to the paper? How long of a break? I'll give you a 10-minute break till I have some messages to reply also. But if I start replying, it will never finish. We'll take a break until, let's say, 5:40. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break, and then you all can come. Okay, take a break and come.